Hey Rock Hill, this is Pastor Kyle. Just wanted to talk with you a little bit about the coming weeks and months as we transition in our church. As Pastor Robbie and Kristen move down to San Antonio, what does that mean for us as a church and our leadership structure? An interesting thing in light of the current season that we are in. Over the last 8.5 years, we have appointed 8 or 9 elders, and we are currently at a spot where we have 2 of them. So if you're familiar at all with us being an elder-led church, we believe in the plurality of elders to lead the church. Now the interesting thing about plurality is I don't think 2 is a very functional plurality, both for making good decisions and in the sense of who breaks the tie. So right now, Pastor Aaron and myself are the elders at Rock Hill, but in the meantime, we've got some challenges of how do we lead the church effectively. Basically addressing 3 areas. One is how do we make good decisions? And 2 people in a room making decisions probably isn't the best process for making good, solid decisions. And so how do we bring people in on a big picture on making good decisions? Second, we want to deal with the perception that not just 2 people that are both on staff are making all the decisions for the direction and the health of the church. Even though I trust Aaron incredibly, I just don't want to. I want to give the appearance of being above board on that, and really also, in addition to making good decisions, make sure that we're above board from a processes standpoint. The third is how do we make sure that people are being cared for adequately or well. I'll address those starting with the last one because I think it's the easiest. Our format for that has always been in our city groups, that's a place where the body cares for one another, and in particular the city group leader often functions as your first line of defense shepherd, so to speak. They're involved in the details of your life. They're often the one that you go to right away. They're often the one that visit you when something is going on. Kind of always above that layer, we've had our elder team that says, hey, in challenging cases, or if someone needs to talk to a pastor, feel free to kick those up or to pass those up. That will still function in place with Aaron and I. In helping to kind of meet some of that load, and I think just based on past, I think we're at an okay spot to deal with that, at least in a temporary standpoint, until we can establish and get more elders. So as we move forward, there are kind of 3 options that are on the table, and I'll let you know which one we landed on. The first option is that we could just start appointing elders now. And while I think this is expedient, it allows us to keep our same form of church governance right away. The danger in appointing elders hastily is if there's not a great philosophical fit, if it's not a great fit for character, if it's not a great fit, even just in the course of this is where we're going in our vision, that when we are hasty in appointing elders, or if you get one elder that is not qualified or should be on the team, you can do a lot of damage to the trust that exists between people and their leaders, as well as that can just wear down those who are on the team. And so it's generally not a good idea to do that in a quick manner. Even if people have served in that capacity before, it's always different in a different context of people. And I do believe the call to be an elder is tied specifically to a people that God has called you to shepherd. Second is that you can do something called a provisional leadership team. And what a provisional leadership team does is it's basically a big overarching kind of accountability structure or decision-making board that oversees the large decisions of the church. They hold the leaders and staff accountable financially, theologically, within the scope of what's already laid down. And then just oversee the big ministry pushes and implementation and where are we going. This is something that often church plants do before they have elders that they're ready to establish in the church. And generally what's made up of this provisional team is pastors and leaders from outside arenas, other pastors in town, sometimes other communities, but they just kind of serve as a theological, moral, and financial accountability source. The third option, so that's the second option. The third option is that we can have a provisional leadership team that serves for a temporary amount of time, 12 to 18 months, until we're able to transition back into a true plurality of elders, but that they can be made up of men from inside the church. So whereas maybe Rock Hill doesn't have people who have been elders within the church are maybe ready to fully take on that calling, we do have godly men and people in our church that are able to serve in this particular capacity. And so where we landed was that we were going to go to a provisional leadership structure for the next 12 to 18 months, that we're inviting 4 men in on that. I'm waiting to get a confirmation on all of them. But then that particular ballot or group of men will be put in front of our members to vote yes or no on when we have that solidified, and we'll probably transition into operating in May. And then we'll function for 12 to 18 months, depending on what is most appropriate. So I just wanted to bring everybody in on that. Also, along with that, as a pastor, I'm going to be inviting 10 different men into a personal development cohort that's going to meet once a month to grow in character, to grow in ministry skill, to grow in biblical understanding, theological understanding, that may or may not lead to the end, at the end goal of being an elder. Some of them will, probably some of them won't, as they have different callings that God calls us to and expresses, but that we'll be doing that in a separate vein from this particular board. But that's kind of how we're going to move forward in the here and now. As far as staffing goes in the future, we don't know right now. In part, I'd like to get some of that team in place so that we can bounce ideas off of what the best way to go to is, and feel like in the current reality that Aaron and I can hold down the fort for a little while. From a staff standpoint, Aaron is going to be taking over the leadership of the deacons, which was one of Robbie's primary responsibilities, and then I'll be taking over the coaching and the leadership of our city group leaders, which was his kind of main role. And so we'll do that, probably not perpetually, but for a while. That's kind of how things will shake out. So love you guys. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Feel free to give me a call or drop me an email, and we'll go from there. One more thing as I close. I was just really encouraged as we talked in our leader huddle to our existing leaders. As we just talked about the reality of where we're at, there was a real sense of, all right, what do you want us to do? Let's rally around and see what God has for us. And even though this is I don't want to say a setback, but something maybe unexpected for us, the general thoughts and opinions in that room was, we're excited for what God has for us as we look to the future. Our work here is not done. We've got a lot of work to do and a lot of opportunities that are in front of us. And so would you just pray for us in the interim time? Pray in particular for Aaron and I and our families. Pray for the other leaders that are going to be stepping up and picking up some of the load. And then pray that God would move in powerful, profound ways. All right, thanks. Bye.